That's what I like to hear.
Today, so yeah, so BotCon. Now, anyway, I mean, we hear that, and you know, I certainly appreciate the fan, you know, enthusiasm for that one, and it's like anything we do, it's part of an ongoing dialogue of different things to do with Transformers.
Was anybody hoping that was going to be one of the ongoings? Okay. Hope you're disappointed.
Yeah.
The two new series starting in January, Robots in Disguise and Northern Meets the Eye. I wasn't clear. Are they going to pick up where Chaos leaves off, or is that going to be a reboot?
No.
They're picking up where Chaos leaves off, and there's a very specific reason why there's now 2 books. I don't know how much of that, if anything, we want to get into, but
probably none. But it's not a reboot. Everything still happened. Everything still counts. It's just the status quo by the end of Chaos is radically different than anything you've seen before. The new status quo is reflected in 2 books, and the status does not stay quo for very long. But they both exist in the same universe, and in the same universe as all the previous IDW comics.
yes.
I sort of have a business question. Since you guys work on all the digital comics and you have various artists who all each have a style, does this ever get put into the toys or the maquettes and statues that come out of the Transformers characters?
You know, John did some comics around movie-based comics, right? That were packed in with the toys.
Oh, you mean actually physically put in the toys?
Well, does your artwork get put into, your style of artwork get put into?
You mean the toys reflect what you do?
Yeah.
Occasionally, yeah. I mean, there's actually a G.I. Joe, what was that? It was like a Super Soaker or something that we saw, or a Nerf gun or something that had some of the artwork on it.
Oh,
and or Transformers.
Yeah. Had some Guido art on it. And then, I mean, Guido helped design that Drift character sometime around the All-Omega time, right? And that's based off his designs that he did for Hasbro. I mean, as I understand it.
I think some of the artists, Hasbro employs its own artists, and I think its own freelance artists as well. And there is actually a lot of crossover between the guys and girls drawing Transformers series at IDW and people doing the toy design. So I think it sometimes gets reflected. They're certainly aware of it. I mean, Drift was a character that appeared in the comics first. Everyone knows.
And a lot of the good approved Transformers artists like Don and like, you know, EJ and Nick and Guido and Marcelo and all them are big Hasbro artists, so they do a lot of stuff for them and stuff for us. So there's certainly uniformity in the look. And hopefully now, you know, with guys like Livio and, you know, Brendan doing this stuff, that we can we sort of get that look showing up, you know, beyond just the comics as well.
You know, I'm going to jump in here. I don't edit on Transformers, but the one thing I can say about Transformers artists is this. They make something that is extremely difficult look extremely easy. Because drawing those machines and drawing those transformations, it's amazing what they can do. I don't think they're given enough credit sometimes for how hard it is to draw these books.
Did you guys actually draw with rulers? Like, I'm just curious about the process. Like, do you actually use straight edges and such? Or?
Not really.
No.
If you use a ruler for one really straight line and then you freehand the other lines, they really look different from one straight line. So yeah, I don't know, Brandon.
I use a ruler a lot. Although if somebody else is inking me, then I don't have to. I can just make that straight. So.
That's why the humans sometimes look kind of wonky because, you know, the ruler human.
The ruler slip.
Yeah. Yes.
I came in a little late, so if this is already brought out, I apologize to the entire room. Whatever happened to Spotlight Cosmos?
Did Chris Mowry send you? I want to do it. Like, Cosmos is awesome. I mean, the image we had from EJ and everything was awesome, and it was too much awesomeness for one comic.
Your characters is something I really enjoyed seeing in IDW, like back with Geopsis during the Dead Universe saga, and I guess even out Hearts of Darkness. But like someone like Cosmos, I know a lot of people consider him a joke character, but I'd be really interested if you guys are ever touching back on him.
Yeah, I guess that's the question. Is it a lot or is it some? Or because I know some, and I mean, I'm one of them that would like to see it, but I always try not to like force in my favorite characters just because. And Cosmos is never quite. I was going to read that one.
Did you happen to read the second arc of the ongoing? It was issue 9 through 11. Well, you should, because Cosmos. I use Cosmos to great effect in that. Cosmos has always been a character that I think is interesting because, you know, I think part of the concept of Transformers is that they're robots in disguise, right?
But Cosmos is like a UFO. That's not a disguise. That's just as ridiculous as a huge robot. So it's pointless.
Disguised to other species.
Yeah, he's disguised as something else that would totally stick out and be conspicuous. So Cosmos is it's in the second trade called the International Incident. So if you're a Cosmos fan, please pick that up because Cosmos, he saves the day, man. He has his moment in the sun. You'll see.
So we basically get to the spotlight. We sort of cut the spotlights out back a bit just because the plan we developed has been so specific as far as leading into chaos and the 2 new books. So it's sort of made the secondary stories not superfluous, but just not kind of fit as organically as what we're doing. So it's not a no. It can still happen. Yes.
I had a question that's actually kind of the opposite of what was just asked. The question is how much of the art influences the design of the toys. How much does the toys design influence the artwork? Especially we're talking about the transformations. Like you guys just sit there like play with the toys, trying to draw them, or?
Yeah, sometimes. I mean, I think for as much as Michael Bay has great Transformers. He was also a genius in coming up with some really great ways to have them transform like really dynamically, and I think those movies are really inspirational in that way, you know. So, and then the toys too, like seeing how they.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'm the ones I'm working on. Most of the characters I'm working have very specific vehicle forms, and so I really go off of that. I go off of, I look at what all the artists before have done and kind of adapt those designs. But I try to keep it pretty realistic about like Historical series and that sort of thing. So not so much from the toys, but more just from what other artists on the book have done, and what I think makes the most sense.
Yeah.
When we first took the license in 2005, like I made a very concerted effort to never enforce a house style on artists because, like where they came from, a lot of the guys were forced to draw exactly the same. And like the thing that makes art and characters and all of this in comics great is everybody's interpretation. Like Spider-Man never would have developed like McFarlane's style or Scotty Young style or all these different guys if they had to stick to this. That's a shout out for you too back there. If they had to stick to this house style. Same with Transformers. I felt like that was limiting. Like if somebody wants to draw Optimus Prime's feet a different way, which got you that caused problems at the start. Like some fans wanted it that way, but I want artists to be able to do what they do, and so we trust these guys to come in and really bring their own style to the book. So as much as I like them to look like the toys, be recognizable, I also want it to feel like their own style and their own interpretation of the characters.
And at the office, we don't draw them, but we play with the toys all the time.
Just to make sure the artists are being accurate. Yeah.
This goes for both G.I. Joe and Transformers, but since there have been so many miniseries and one-shots in addition to the ongoings, could you ever release or maybe on your website have a chronology so that we can kind of put them in order if we want to go back and read them? And also distinguish which are like alternate timelines or alternate, variations as opposed to the main.
I have 2 answers to that. One, for Transformers, we're actually doing that now. We're doing, it's basically called the Transformers, the IDW collection.
Okay.
They're hardcover collections of everything we've done in exact chronological order. So we've slotted in the spotlights and the miniseries, everything in the exact order as they happen. What's that? Oh, there we go now. We're through volume 4 now.
I mean, that's cool to purchase, but even just like a checklist.
Well, the fun thing about that, like the second part of my answer is, I love when the fans do it because when we do it, it suddenly becomes like, that's the answer. And a lot of fans see things differently and they contradict that or they want it to be a different way. So yeah, I kind of like it when fans tell us, like, this is how we see it. I mean, that's almost more fun for me, which isn't just our way of being lazy to not do it ourselves. But, the thing about these properties that are great is the fan interaction, the fact that fans care enough to do that sort of thing. So I like when we can use them as a resource. We can sort of work together on these things and figure it out. So I don't know if we can do that on our website as much as like point people toward some of the specific fan texts. I think we've done a great job of that. Yeah.
So by the end of 125, will Bumblebee become a prime?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Oh.
I'm sorry. I don't think there's a way we can answer that.
Yeah.
We can't.
I'm sorry, Senator, I can't answer that question.
We have plans for both of these. We have plans.
question.
Yeah, more questions that we got. I'm telling you, we got something at the other end of this thing. So yeah.
There's a second IDW coming out next year. Characters that are you going to be forced to?
Dude, The Rock's gonna be in that movie. How can you be fearful of that movie?
Are you going to be forced to do a movie adaptation version like you were the first time?
Well, first, we're never forced on these things. We do them because, you know, I mean, there's certain markets that like this stuff. You know, the bookstore market, people like where you can have a complete story. You do the prequels and the adaptation. You have this full thing. I mean, granted, maybe they're not for you or maybe they're not for other people, but they are for some people that like it. So we're never forced on these things. Like we always go to Hasbro and say we would like to do this and this and this, and if they sign off, we do it. So I don't know. I mean, adaptations as a kid were great because you could read Close Encounters or Indiana Jones or what have you, and there was no other way to see it because there were no VCRs, which makes me sound kind of old. But
What's a VCR?
Yeah. But you know what I mean? Like adaptations were great things. That was the only way, other than go and see a movie over and over, to like revisit the thing. Now, where you can see them over and over, and you can download them, or you can, you know, there's other ways to see adaptations. I think adaptations mean less to people, but I think the prequel stories and the way to sort of extend the actual movie storyline still matter. So I lean more toward doing prequels and things that come out of movies than adaptations. It's just sometimes if you do a prequel, you do something that spins out of it, you at least want that centerpiece so you have the full story.
And I guess on that note, how much does Hasbro dictate the options?
Hasbro has been the greatest partner on this stuff, and we go to them with our publishing plans, so we'd like to do this. We'd like to kill Optimus Prime, and they go, oh, again? And we go, no, we mean it this time, yeah. But everything we've done, we present to them. I can't think of anything big that we want to do where they've ever said, no, you can't do that. So they've been great and encouraging. You know, when these things happened in the 80s, it was like, we're launching this toy. Do a comic about this toy. Like for us, it's like, you guys tell good stories and make good comics, and we'll do our thing, and we'll compliment what you guys are doing with our toys, but there's never been dictates or anything but support, basically. Yeah.
I heard rumors that you guys do something with the original 13. Is that true? Can you tell us more?
John? Not immediately. That's not one of the immediate things we're setting up. We will be probably learning a lot about the history of the Transformers in these upcoming stories. I think very shortly we'll kind of learn a little bit more about the history.
And the 13 actually is a big initiative for Hasbro, and they want to develop that and really work toward that part of the timeline. So that is one area where we would sort of defer to what they want to do because they have other plans in mind beyond just the comics for the 13. And the 13 has sort of changed. Like there were these 13, and then the 13 sort of become these 13. So, all right. So yeah, we'll probably get there in some way, shape, or form.
Just to clue you guys in on something, back when Andy was still on the property, this was like a year ago, we had very serious conversations about doing a comic book, like a series about the 13, and I had written up notes for it, and we had other people involved, and then chaos started getting bigger and bigger, and we realized that we just couldn't do both. We couldn't do two big events like that because they'd just steal each other's thunder. But those notes are still out there, John. I wrote a lot of stuff about it. I don't know if they're going to use it, but I hope they do, so we'll see.
Yeah.
Along the same lines, this year being the 30th anniversary of the Real American Hero, in that series, might you do something like a story with just the original team, like a flashback or kind of reminiscing, or if they go on an adventure together or something like that?
I suppose to the degree that we could pin Larry down on anything.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I have been talking to him about certain stuff there, and we kind of have some good ideas going right now, but trying to pin Larry down on something that's still kind of a year away is it's pretty dicey. So I'm going to wait till we get a little closer to the actual anniversary before actually getting Larry to sit down and hash something out. But at least what we've been talking about, he's got some very cool ideas of taking some stuff back to some very cool places.
Larry's a guy that has very specific ways of doing things and very specific things that he has in mind, and we're happy to give him his outlet, but that book is largely Larry and Carlos doing their thing and just allows you to just do whatever they want. So
Nobody forces Larry Hama to do anything.
yeah, nobody puts Larry in the corner.
Larry's got guns.
Real guns. Yeah.
Any plans for Godbot?
Don?
Yes. Think about Dinobots. People will always say, "Oh, it doesn't make sense. They're dinosaurs. That's not, like Cosmos. That's not hiding. They're giant metal dinosaurs." I think every other Transformer that isn't a Dinobot is crazy to have an alt mode that isn't a giant dinosaur. Why would you be a cassette player when you could be a giant Tyrannosaurus? Oh, hey, there's a giant Tyrannosaurus walking down the street. I'm not going to mess with it. Like, that's what I would say. And then even if I did, it changes into a big robot with guns. So it's win-win. I mean, I think the Dinobots are the only Transformers that make sense. But yeah, Dinobots.
And you can quote him on that. Only Transformers that make sense.
Yeah.
Last year there was mention of a series called Legacy of Rust, which would include Punch Counter Punch for the first time in any kind of fish story. Is that still coming out, or is anything going to happen with the character? Or what happened?
It's going to come out. It's been written. Stuart Moore, a great writer, wrote this miniseries, and then Mike and Andy and John and everybody came up with this plan that just sort of shunched it to the side for now.
Yeah, Stuart wasn't in the club, so we're like, forget it. Yeah, just like the 13 plan. I never actually wrote the miniseries for the 13, but Stuart did write Punch Counter Punch. But because of the chaos getting bigger and bigger, it just got pushed off the schedule. But
yeah, John doesn't know this, but when he comes in, he's going to get handed these things like, this has been in the works, but we don't quite know what to do with it, but this, and that's definitely one of them, so it'll happen.
Stuart's a good friend of mine. I'm actually talking with him later this weekend, so we'll at least get to talk about it.
You'll definitely see it, hopefully in 12.
Okay. That's that.
It'll be about Dinobots now, though.
But Dinobots that can turn into an Autobot and Decepticon.
Ryall has got a Transformer that turns into a VCR.
All right, anybody else? Any other questions out there? All right, what do you get? Yeah.
Any chance of a crossover with G.I. Joe and Transformers?
Good chance. Very good chance.
Records?
Records, I want to get Nick doing more, and Nick loves the records. So again, on John's list of things to figure out is make Nick happy.
Well, we got the records crew back together on 125 with me getting in the way, and I mean Nick and James doing More Than Meets the Eye, I think is going to please a lot of people. I think if you like records, you're gonna like that, and we'll see what happens in the future.
Yeah.
I'm sorry if this is already answered. I got here late, but 2 questions. Number 1, any word on the continuation of the Marvel G1 series? Transformers 81.
Yeah, that was asked earlier.
Oh, sorry.
And it's like I said, it's one of those things that just we're aware that everybody's. Yeah.
And any possibility of even a one-shot to kind of wrap up the Dreamwave universe?
Boo.
I want to know what happened.
Let the record stand, yeah.
Yes, Matt Lee was an asshole, but the stories were interesting.
I think we have enough going on.
Why don't you guys like our Transformers?
Transformers.
Any questions about present-day Transformers? All right, well, I think that was, what do you guys think? Was that a good Q&A? Was that spirited enough to, you guys want one more little bit of news?
Well, I was disappointed I didn't get a Dungeons & Dragons question. So please, one person ask me a question. Dan. Oh, wait. No, Dan.
He's going to ask how it is working with the
Oh, it's been really interesting because, that was on our wish list when we first started doing Dungeons & Dragons, and we didn't really think we were going to pull it off, but we couldn't do Drist without RA, and he was gracious enough to do it. Bless it and write it himself along with Gino. I gave him a few pointers on how to make the transition from prose to comics. They've taken it really well. Gino knows comics really well, so he was a big part of that. They just came up with some ideas. We kicked it around, and these are new series set in the new, the Boomie original story set in the new trilogy, set in that timeline.
Are they reviewed at all?
No, they will not.
I haven't seen in a couple of years. He's here stuff with the Asta. No, I don't know what it was, but
thank you for asking a question. See me after the panel. I got a prize for you. And back to
All right, yeah, I got to wrap. So let's see if we else have any other questions out there. All right, so you guys want one more little bit of news?
Yeah.
No. Do you guys want one more little bit of news? Yeah. All right. You want me to answer your question? You want me to answer your question? Back. Now will you guys all shut up?
And if we hear one complaint, it's canceled.
I don't have a Dreamwave slide in there, I'll tell you that much. But I mean, this is something like, we definitely hear everybody. We've seen the petitions, we've seen the outcry online, I've seen my Twitter feed get choked out by this. And like, that's what I love about the Transformers fans. Like, you guys are this passionate, this vocal, and like, I want you to know, like, we hear you. Like, this is, like Mike says, like, we're really happy with what we're doing going forward. We have, like, we've been doing great books, but I also want to give you guys what you want in addition to what you hopefully also want. So, it's coming.
Cool.
It's coming from 81 to, you said, what, a one-shot? You want more than that?
No, more than that would be good. More than that would be good.
How about if we go to 100? We will wrap the entire that Transformers continuity in full, tell every story that still needs to be told, answer every question, and end at issue 100. So, in the 37%. Nobody knew about this.
The storyline is that the new Cobra Commander is going to kill all those old Transformers.
That's okay, so the best ones are already in.
All right, and with that, thank you guys for the support and the questions here, and thanks for coming. Appreciate it.